Ketamine can be very therapeutic, yet it can also be very dangerous in the wrong hands. So as someone who personally owns and operates a ketamine clinic, as well as helps other physicians and clinicians start up ketamine clinics, this is kind of a major blow because in general, like to the public, people hear the word ketamine and then now it's associated with criminal investigations. So it is challenging in a way because a lot of people don't have that discernment and wisdom regarding like how to use ketamine safely.
3, 2, 1, liftoff.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the Ketamine Startup Podcast. I wanted to shoot a quick podcast regarding some of what's been going on in the psychedelic and ketamine space. So first off, let's touch base upon the recent FDA decision to delay and not recommend MDMA for PTSD per the FDA phase 3 trials. So MAPS, which is now known as Lycos Therapeutics, submitted their application to get FDA approval, and they were almost at the finish line, and the FDA rejected their application. Interestingly, MAPS, aka Lycos, has been working on this research for probably 30 plus years, running it through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials, and they were rejected. We kind of knew this was going to occur because the advisory panel to the FDA actually voted against recommending MDMA for PTSD therapy. Now, some of their concerns were regarding the lack of blinding, the lack of lab work, and the use of psychotherapy and how that was a crucial component of the trial. And FDA said, there needs to be more research done. And they told Lycos, hey, these are the things, X, Y, and Z, that needs to be worked on prior to resubmitting another application. Now, this is kind of concerning because there are a lot of patients who are suffering from PTSD, and I like to refer to PTSD now as post-traumatic stress injury, PTSI, because we know that there are biological changes occurring in the brain. Regardless, there are a lot of people suffering from PTSD/PTSI, and this was kind of heartbreaking, and especially after Rick Doblin and his crew spent millions of dollars researching it, going through all of the phase 1, 2, and 3, and then getting rejected from the FDA. Now, the silver lining is they told them, hey, we actually want more research to be done. And so that's one possible, silver lining. Also, that the fact that they even considered it to look at it and do the research. I mean, it was a breakthrough novel treatment. And so they kind of fast tracked it as well. So yeah, that's been happening in the MDMA world.
If you tuned in to our episode today, chances are you're curious about the ins and outs of starting up a ketamine clinic. It's an exciting field, but let's face it, the journey from idea to actually opening day can be quite daunting. That's why we've created something special for you. Think of it as your personal roadmap, a free downloadable checklist that lays out the essential steps you need to consider when starting up your ketamine clinic. This checklist is designed to help you avoid common pitfalls and launch your trajectory to success. So how can you get your hands on this checklist? Simple. Just visit www.ketaminestartup.com/checklist and grab your free copy today. We've made it easy and accessible because we believe in supporting our community with a valuable resource. ketaminestartup.com/checklist. All right, let's get back to our discussion. Stay tuned and don't forget to download your free checklist during or after the podcast.
Now, the other thing is regarding Matthew Perry. Now, we know he passed away last year in drowning acute ketamine intoxication per the coroner's report, mixed with buprenorphine, as well as benzodiazepines with, pretty severe comorbidities. And turns out that they were investigating physicians as well as three other individuals, kind of a middle person, and then someone known as the ketamine queen, because not only was Matthew Perry getting intravenous ketamine in a regulated, responsible ketamine clinic, but turns out he was actually getting ketamine from other sources. And according to the New York Times reports, his assistant was actually not medically trained and was administering at least 5 injections intramuscular of ketamine. There were also 2 physicians that were, part of the criminal investigation, and there's charges against them. And it's pretty unfortunate. Ketamine can be very therapeutic, yet it can also be very dangerous in the wrong hands. So as someone who personally owns and operates a ketamine clinic, as well as helps other physicians and clinicians start up ketamine clinics, this is kind of a major blow because in general, like to the public, people hear the word ketamine and then now it's associated with criminal investigations. So it is challenging in a way because a lot of people don't have that discernment and wisdom regarding like how to use ketamine safely. And so at our clinic, and what we recommend to our students is to monitor all of the patient's vital signs, never administer or prescribe ketamine, especially if it's going to be done intramuscular at the house by themselves in a jacuzzi. So I think this is really important and the lessons that we can take from it. And the lesson is that ketamine, yeah, it's very powerful. It can be dangerous. It can also even be addictive, right? In the certain patient population. And so to be cognizant of this when we are treating patients, because this is a relatively novel space, it's pretty cutting edge, it's novel, it's new. I think we need to do it even more responsibly than the average person. Like all of the I's, T's need to be dotted and crossed. And really being, I guess the best word would be integrity regarding how ketamine is being administered. I think there will be some media coverage, or obviously there already is. There's going to be more stigma associated with the use of ketamine therapy, even though it's very different from, at-home self-administration of intramuscular ketamine. But still, when people hear it, the general public or even other physicians, like it sounds scary, it sounds intense. And I think we have a responsibility to let patients know that, hey, there's a gold standard. There's a way we do it with doctors and clinicians in a medical office is very, very different than doing it at your house alone mixed with other medications. I do want to share one metaphor or analogy with you. And I've talked about this before, so you may have heard it. But as an example, let's think about 2 drivers. Let's call them Anna and Billy, who are driving the same exact car. Now, Anna is very responsible. She's very cautious. She wears her seatbelt, goes the speed limit, makes sure that her engine and her oil, like everything is maintained. And she's going to get safely from point A to point B. Now, on the other hand, let's consider a second driver, Billy, who is reckless, irresponsible. Maybe his license expired. He didn't even pass the test. He drinks and drives. That can be very dangerous for that second person. They may not even get to their final destination, or they may even harm people as they are getting there. Now, it's the same exact car, but used very differently. One is very responsible and the other is very irresponsible. And ketamine is simply a tool. Similar to other tools, it can be used with respect, integrity, responsibility, or it can be misused and it can be dangerous. And it's really important that if you are opening up a ketamine clinic, or if you already have a ketamine clinic, or if you're working with anything in the ketamine psychedelic space, to have a rigorous standard and a personal code of ethics to deliver this medicine, because it's very powerful. And patients are literally putting their lives in your hands. It's a very vulnerable space for them to be in. And so I think the safer that patients feel and know how well that they're going to be taken care of by you will play a crucial component. We always talk about, set and setting, and how the mindset of the person receiving the ketamine plays a crucial role. And then the setting. What's the environment like? Does it feel safe? Am I being monitored? And so being conscious of set and setting will be a crucial role in ketamine therapy. Now, I do want to go back and close the loop on the first component that I mentioned, which is MDMA getting rejected by the FDA in its most recent application. So it's interesting because although MDMA is not approved currently, there are other avenues and options available for patients. And obviously, this is the Ketamine Startup Podcast. So the one that I'm going to educate and share about is ketamine therapy. I mean, randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled trials have shown dramatic improvements in PTSD/PTSI symptoms. And it's a game changer. I mean, it's not 100% effective for 100% of patients, but when it works, it really, really works and can be effective for patients who have treatment-resistant symptoms. In addition to that, there's always cognitive behavioral therapy. I think there's a few SSRIs that are also FDA approved for PTSD/PTSI symptoms. So being cognizant that there are still other options available right now for patients in the toolbox, I think that'll play a really important role in just general awareness. The other thing I will mention is something that I've started offering for our patients, which is the Stellate Ganglion block, SGB, which is a procedure done in the office using ultrasound imaging and inserting a little bit of local anesthetic into the appropriate locations in the neck. That has also been scientifically shown, looking at, again, randomized placebo-controlled trials, to really reduce PTSD, PTSI symptoms, in particular, the bodily or physical response. So the bottom line is, yes, MDMA has been rejected, but we really want to let our patients know that, yes, there's more options, there's more tools. That was one tool in the toolbox, possibly, and to not lose hope. I think the latest statistic is that there are 30 to 40 veterans who die by suicide every day. And to me, that is wild. 30 to 40 people dying, and they're just not aware that there are still currently options available. So I think it's important that insurance companies are aware of this as well as the general public, as well as our healthcare team, whether it's your colleague, and to fight ignorance and be aware that by sharing your knowledge, maybe even sharing this podcast, can really help open the eyes of another person. Thank you so much for joining and listening till the very end. I think it says a lot about you and your commitment to your patients. And I will catch you on the next episode. Signing off.